Go ahead.
Are you guys hearing echoes?
A
Or
little.
is it just me?
A little bit.
Yeah, you echo a little.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not unbearable. Whatever that weird whistling was before was basically like that was. Sounds like a
It was driving
TV
me
like
mad.
under the like. It sounds like a TV's been thrown into the tub, but the audio's still going, like behind you somewhere.
You got a Silent Hill TV going?
Yeah, like Silent Hill's just like make sure there's no pyramid head around the corner.
That's
Like
like when we have a checklist when we do the podcast. And is the air conditioning off? Is the cuckoo clock off? Are the phones off? You know, all that stuff.
wait, hang on. You have a cuckoo clock.
Oh.
It's like
My wife's parents brought it back. They went to Germany and like that and bought us. And like, you know, we don't have any pets. So all the inanimate objects in our house have names.
Oh,
you know, so the freaking cuckoo clock is Herbie, and you know, it's the whole thing. It's hilarious.
that's actually pretty great. Like I love that. So, one of the reasons I'm bringing y'all on, first off, you're both great dudes. Mars was supposed to be here. Dang it, Mars. No, it's fine. I hope he won all the stuff. First 2 day air. No, that's a truly great moment. Well, no, you're both just like great guys. Dan, obviously, grand prize because of Cubic Shenanigans, your podcast. Like, really last year. I think like you two, you know, basically like helped crystallize that into a thing. Like again, I had to start collecting Box in a Dream, and the Nurgle lot it triggered this chain reaction of like people wanting to support it. And next thing I know, Brendan's like sending me like nebulous, vague Twitter DMs about like we got you for a grand prize, and I'm like, what? Oh, here's 3,000 points of Ossiarch Bone. Just here's a box, and I'm just like, you know, and I'm like, okay, like, well, this year is going to be a little bit harder. Like, I can't accept that. Oh, by the way, here's a soul. It's just insane. The generosity is insane, and
Wow.
Dave, you in spite of like, you know, moving and all this like stuff going on in IRL, you still threw together to, you know, sort of track down 15 prizes, right? Like across this whole thing. So, thank you both so much for everything. We're here, but so real quick, you can see the Slaanesh lot behind me, along with my totally not gloating about the Milwaukee Bucks winning the NBA championship hat. That just keeps ending up in the frame along with my weird bango. Like,
I gotta listen to this with you too now.
Yeah.
I have to put up with Brendan.
Yes,
all the time, and
let's go.
And even bled over to the podcast. I'm like, oh god, I guess I better not edit that out, or you'll get pissed off.
Well, I have to wonder because you do edit Cubic Shenanigans, which is like, you know, first off, way to go, because I don't edit any, like I don't edit my, yeah, seriously, kudos. But I could just imagine the ambient conversations that you cut out. You know, like I just, because like both you and Brendan, I don't think it comes across like the like you both have some stories. Like you both, you know, you can talk. And a very little bit of that makes it into the show because you keep it very focused on Warhammer. You know, if it's relevant or it's really funny, you keep it in. But for the most part, it's like you had a goal going into it of making a teaching podcast. And like,
that's true.
One of the things that struck me when I first started watching, I think it was after I don't remember what event it was. Like I met, one of the things that struck me was like, you have this passion for Warhammer 40K. And I don't know what any of the words you're saying when you talk about 40K are. You know, I know like Emperor, and you know, I know it's Space Marine. But you're just like, what was the one thing you were going into? Like some sort of like flying vehicle, and you were like so like not like an Excelsior, but something like that. And you're like, I'm like, I don't know what this is, but he's really pumped about it, so it must be the coolest thing ever.
You know, that's why you say that. I remember I actually got emails and stuff from people that were traumatized when I made the announcement that I was dropping out of 40K.
Wow.
They literally said that. Use that word. You traumatized me, Dan. I wanted you to know that. Like, well, I didn't mean to. And it was a pretty big deal for me because since 2001, I've been rolling dice with Space Marines or something. So it was, but you know,
Incessors.
you do.
It was Incessors. just you would talk about intercessors. Yeah, intercessors.
Intercessors, yeah.
Just I'm like,
God,
I
yeah.
don't know I still don't know what it is, but I'm like, it must be the coolest thing ever because like he's really excited about them.
That's great.
40K Grip Slacker saying 40K is amaze balls, especially ninth. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. It's fun to be on this side of it now. Just looking in, I'm happy to be doing that. I'm happy to be a spectator. So
Yeah. Dan is a champion. Combat Phase Podcast showing up.
that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. Is there a way to donate for something? Is there a way to donate something for a prize? Have oodles of black library books on the prize pile. I mean, if you'd like to DM me, and I can see about adding it to, probably the 6 a.m. block has like only one prize draw. 2 a.m. has only one prize draw, so I'll just add it to something that only has like one prize draw. If you want to.
I love the fact that we're at the point where we're like, listen, this block only has one prize, right? Like, I can't believe we have blocks that only have one prize.
Yeah, like, dude, like I looked at last year and not it's like you always kind of want Giannis Antetokounmpo from the championships NBA Bucks team taught me to always be living in the moment. So looking So looking in the past is useful only to learn from it, and looking to the future is only necessary when setting goals. I am living in the moment, but like I look at like the Rantathon last year, and we did $7,000. We're on pace to hopefully exceed that. We 5,800 right now. And what we did it with was like kind of like a few. Just again, it was, start collecting in a dream. And, we lost Dan.
Yeah. All right, guys.
I'm sure he'll be back.
$200 more, and we make Heywoah buy another hat. This is a must-have. I know we have some big flats in the group, right? Donate, make Heywoah buy a new hat.
Yeah.
Here we are. Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's all right. No, so the hat thing. Okay, so I watch Heywoah. It sucks. Dan, maybe you can attest to this. You can talk about this a little bit, but when I'm making content or when I have the time to make content, I usually don't have time to watch other people's content. So the content I get is very I don't get as much of it as I'd like. And so I watch Heywoah sometimes, but I don't get the hat thing. I know the hat switching thing, but I don't understand why a bunch of his fans showed up and they're like, if we donate enough, can we make him buy a hat? And I'm just like, why are 20 people asking me for this?
Because it got brought up in one of his streams because he only shows 4 hats.
Yeah, he's got the
right? And so one of the things is he makes people switch hats, right? And so the way Heywoah streams goes, you haven't watched it, right? Is he normally talks about the news or talks about what's going on, and then he'll catch up on the chat and he'll be like, hats off, hold on a sec, yep, okay, and hats up, all right, yep, okay, and all right, so I'm back to my Star Wars hat, right? And so there's only so many rotations, and we're like, hey man, we should get him a new hat, and he's like, no, I'm good.
It's fun,
right? And so
great.
we're like, listen, we need to make him buy another hat.
It's just conspired against him and showed up and used me. That's fun. Use me as the vessel for your wrath, as Chat Gang is wont to do. No, it's fine. I am the puppet state for the will of Chat Gang. I accept this.
That's great. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I want to circle around real quick with the editing thing, because I have definitely been tempted because of the time that it takes, even for 2.5 hour show, because I usually end up with 3.5, 4 hours of raw audio and it's like I listen to it, and there's so many times when you don't realize that you say the same thing 2 or 3 times, and if I just let that go, it would drive people nuts after half an hour of listening to that. Are these two guys brain damaged or what? Mm-hmm. And it just, and you have these speech patterns, obviously, that you pick up on when you listen to this stuff. Yeah. But I couldn't stand it if I had to listen to that thing raw. It would just drive me mad. Yeah. It would drive me mad.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah, drive me mad,
Do
drive me
that
mad. I got it. I got it for the emphasis. That was the joke. But I gotta thank you because you trained Brendan to make my life easier for the Man Reads Pack videos. So like we started. I don't know if people know, but because it's just I think I'm very
That's great.
Twitch focused, but like I've got a YouTube and all the Twitch stuff ends up on YouTube, and not that this is gonna end up on YouTube eventually in a little playlist. And Chat Gang, you are no less Chat Gang because you only watch in YouTube. Like again, it's it's about camaraderie. It's about solidarity, right? Like that's what Chat Gang is. But like it's I know that you can't always be on the whim to my schedule of when I go live. That's why the YouTube exists. But I've been making these videos that are exclusively for YouTube, which feels backwards for me, which are the Man Reads Pack. And Brendan like reads the pack, right? But you've got him trained so when he switches pages or he switches subjects, he like gives a noticeable pause. So when I go through and I edit, like I just look for the part where there's like literally nothing. And I just go like I click like C, clip, V, touch, delete, drag, done. And I'm like, and so this last one we did because we did ACO was the first one, which was very light editing, and I listen to it now and I cringe. I'm like, oh no, like, and this last one we just did, which was for DashCon, is actually good, kinda considering where I was versus where I am. And I'm by no means have dos ASOS editing skills. If you listen to the Mortal Realms, where that shit is on point. There is not a like or an in that whole show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it drives me mad.
And yours is like really solid. And
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
When I get other creators, especially like yourself, where you get such quantity, you've got so much out there, I do appreciate it because then it makes it worth the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, see, I go for the quantity approach. 30 hours of quantity, quality. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm like, I've got about 2 hours of quality in me, and it's just going to be interspersed throughout 30 hours. So you might get 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there of quality content, but I am not.
Well, I'm so blessed. I'm so fortunate that I'm freaking retired now. Because if I wasn't, there's no way I'd have time to turn this around. Like usually we record on Sunday afternoons now, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoons. I can, if it's a reasonable show like the last one, I can get it out by Monday night. I can have it done.
Yeah.
Tuesday usually on the outside. But if I didn't, otherwise it wouldn't go out to like Friday. If I didn't have the time, because I'm not going to stay up till midnight doing that shit. I love my show, but I'm just not going to do that.
Oh man.
I love the hobby and I love the show, but not that much.
Well, I mean, I just look at, like, again, I have a live video that I basically one-to-one export. I clip a little bit on the end, or a little bit on the beginning, and then, like, I export it to YouTube. And I have a 24-hour, like, so because I go to Twitch first, I have 24 hours before I can export it to YouTube. So usually, like, it's at a minimum one entire day. And just going from export, like, clip the beginning, find like where it's the funniest for the cold open. So like I've got like 6 minutes of like just talking. Okay, this 1 minute here is the good part. Boom. Clip it, cold open, export it to YouTube, we're good to go. And it still takes me like a week to do that. Which is why I got a little miffed at like Heywoah when he got good, like at Twitch. And I'm like, damn it, Heywoah, like your crowd, like, and you actually edit your videos going over to YouTube, like, man, you're making me look bad, dude. Like I was relying on lowered expectations for my show, and now I don't even have that going for me.
God, that's wild. That is wild, brother.
Yeah,
that's wild.
No, it's been this last year has been essential in me reprioritizing and restructuring stuff and remembering. I do this because it's fun. Trying to remember, especially like in the mire that was 2020, and like it felt like I fell into it, man. I was getting nasty I felt like I was getting nasty to be around. And like just that like one upping of continual, like just the negativity. We weren't playing Warhammer. We were only talking about Warhammer, so we're fighting about talking about Warhammer. And I'm like, I have to make these videos just because I have to do a show a week. And like, in the beginning, a bunch of guests would be like, hey, can I come on your show? Can I come on your show? So it made booking easy because then I just go, okay, does this day work for you? Does this day work for you? And then I have like 8 guests lined up. And now it's like, oh shit, did I have a guest next week? And like, are you able to come on my show? It might be 3 hours of talking about basketball on accident. Like, come on my Warhammer show.
Sure. Oh God.
But it's
too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah, but I remembered just somewhere along the way something clicked again, and I stopped looking at the numbers again because that was a nightmare. Like, they were hurting. Like, since Rantathon last year, my numbers have only gone down like steadily. And at first it's like someone was like, oh, everyone's numbers are down, but then everyone's numbers recovered and mine just didn't, and they just kept plummeting and plummeting and plummeting. And they're, my videos are like not getting above 100 now, and I'm like, oh no, but again, so I stopped looking at the like numbers, and I felt so much better.
Yeah. Well, I look at when we started, and Brendan started with the show. We're up to 78 now. He started with the show. We were at episode 8, and whenever I'm like, and I'm never concerned because especially after Doug at 2+ stuff, and I want to shout him out as always. He gave us a shout out. He did a little YouTube thing, and man, our numbers we hit this certain number, this certain. I guess it's a threshold, and I just Brendan and I, every time he comes over to record, we're like, who the hell are all these people who listen to us? Like, I know we were just talking, man, but we're just so grateful, and we're trying to figure that out because when we started, it was like 100, like you said, it was like 100 people a month. And that was great. Like, oh, that's awesome. When you think about it, a room full of 100 people is a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. Yeah. If you get like 300 or 400 a month, that's a lot. That's an even bigger room with lots of people in it. So when you get to like that 500 number, to me, that's like a magic number. 500 people have downloaded my show this month. Like, wow, that is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
To me, and of course, there are these people who, they get 10,000 per episode and stuff. Okay, fine, but I'm not that person, and I don't care. I'm really happy for them. I'm happy that they got so many people who are interested in their stuff. But to your point, Meph, is that the numbers? There's a certain threshold I hope that we get to every month. But if we don't get to that, it's fine, because I know that people who are listening are enjoying the show because they tell us, not because we think we're awesome, because people tell us it's a good show or they're enjoying it. And that's all that matters to us.
I got to ask, go finish your point and then I'll ask my question.
No, and so when we got to this certain number now, I look at that, and then when I could kind of sit back and go, oh, God, it's a great month. And then I don't care after that. It doesn't bother me at all.
That's funny. That's great.
Yeah, and like you said, you're talking about the teaching aspect and stuff, and we're just so grateful to all the listeners, all the people who shout us out on their own shows, and everybody who gives us feedback. Because it's very humbling to me.
Yeah, great. I just want to say, I'm really glad you got the Doug shout out, but I was shouting you guys out before Doug made it cool. So
absolutely. Okay, fine.
You got like 2 viewers off of my shout out. So come on, that's like 10% of my audience. That's relative.
To be fair, I found their show because of Chat Gang. Right?
Because of Meph, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, I like to. Sort of again like camaraderie and grassroots and building solidarity with people, and you start local and you grow and you reach out to there, and this isn't my homerism, even though I am guilty of a lot of homerism. I just like the caliber and the quality of content that comes out of like Wisco and the Midwest is, I mean. I agree. Is really high between Heywoah, you guys at Cubic Shenanigans, you've got the Mortal Realms, and then Playing and Slaying, which is like a little bit more of like a total. They do board games too,
Yeah.
and like those 4 shows alone could be just nationwide, just in the running with any show anywhere.
And we were talking before. It's just the 2 of us. We were talking about how this Midwest community is so cool because we're talking about tournaments in the Midwest versus other parts of the country, which are like deserts, and it's the same kind of thing. Events. There's like this weird, cool
Uncle Adam
confluence
as well.
of community, which is part of it's the social media stuff, part of it's the events. And it's kind of cool that we're in that part of country. We're not, and in other places. I won't mention other places, but that's really cool. I think it's neat. We're fortunate.
Well, I think part of it is like, what else are you going to do in the Midwest between like besides like drink and game? Like once winter rolls around, you got to have something, or you go crazy.
Oh God, yeah.
Like I mean, it's cool. Like there's really Martin was on just the block before, and my favorite part of that entire block, if I'm allowed to have favorites on my own thing, was him talking about like taking a plane, then renting a car to drive 45 minutes to a hotel in the middle of a cornfield. And I'm like, welcome to the Midwest. Like, just like, there you go. That's it. That's where you're. And like, it was like the perfect sort of like edification, like the perfect illustration of what it's like here.
Right. It's true. That's very true.
Like you gotta, like that's why I love gaming so much, and to just kind of rope it back in with mental health is I love the catharsis and escapism and just for me, reality kind of sucks. It's tough. Like they're part of reality. I like my friends. I like my family. I enjoy a cup of coffee. I like staring at Lake Michigan, drinking my cup of coffee in my work truck. Like there are things in reality I really like, but man, dragons are really sweet, and like samurai riding a dragon, fighting a skeleton the size of a skyscraper is super sweet. So there's just I live very much in my imagination. Go ahead.
So no, I had a question for both of you. So do either one or both of you guys do either D&D or Pathfinder or any kind of RPG thing on a monthly or bi-monthly basis, whatever?
I'm sorry, I missed your question because I was reading and listening at the same time and registered neither.
I was just asking if either one of you guys are active in RPGs, either D&D or Pathfinder or anything like that.
Yeah, we're both in the same game weekly, and I'm currently world building for a game I shouldn't be world building for because I have 2 other games in hiatus.
That's funny.
And I might have so I've got a secret project where I'm working on a writing project that hopefully pans out, and I can tell people about that later. Heywoah and I have both, I think, alluded to it, but we've got a super sweet project we're working on. And then I picked up a top secret project, which is basically I'm going to design an RPG.
Super secret?
Yeah, I've got the secret project, and then I've got the super secret project. And the super secret project is I had one of the rough patches was I got commissioned to help design a game as the writer. And then I picked up some design duties, and that whole thing fell apart. Not because of me for once, because usually I'm the one who doesn't finish writing. I totally did my job, and that fell apart, and it sucked. And I'm like, man, screw this thing. But now I'm like, I'm gonna design my own game. And so I've just, if Vince can do it, I can do it. Not quite as good as Vince, but I could do it. Dang it! So.
Well, now, are you both D&D or?
My least favorite
system.
RPG is probably D&D, but I play it because ubiquity and friendship goes a long way. If my friends are having fun, I can have fun. But
to be fair, I think Meph and I don't want to put words in Meph's mouth.
Go ahead.
My favorite RPG is the one I get to play the least, and that's Rifts. Right? By far, that is my favorite RPG.
Yeah.
Right? But I normally just go with the group, right? So I've played some Pathfinder, we're currently in a Vampire the Masquerade game. If I didn't have real life stuff, so I am not actually playing in it because, like, my wife was like, "Hey, you have to help us pack, otherwise we're not going to be moved." And I was like, "That's fair, okay."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Paul, I was not trashing the Midwest life. I was repping the Midwest life. I love the Midwest life, and I do think it's the D&D culture. Like, I think that Gary Gygax, Saint Gygax, et cetera, like, whole thing. Just, again, what are you gonna do? You're gonna fantasize about doing sweet stuff when you're like snowed in your house. It just makes sense. Go ahead.
So, I am a Florida native, right? Born and raised. I moved up to the Midwest right before COVID happened, right? I ended up in this small town in the middle of Michigan, like middle of nowhere, Michigan, right? Like I am in the middle of rural America, and I will tell you this coming from like Tampa, Florida, that I did not realize how freaking tall corn is. Like, no lie, there are cornfields that are surrounding my house that are like, I swear they're 9 feet tall. And like, before you'd watch a movie or something, you're like, how does someone get lost in corn? That is stupid. And now I'm like, oh Jesus, I could so be lost in that.
I have, of course, it's because I'm the oldest fuck in this entire area of gaming that we do. But I do have a cornfield story that you'll love. So
yes, I've been told about the famed Dan, the Stormcaller stories. Let's go. I'm ready for it.
So I was driving up to see somebody I was dating at the time in Pennsylvania, and I had a Scirocco, a VW Scirocco at the time. This is years and years ago, and had a 5-speed. It was a sweet car. Well, I set off a cop. I was doing like 70 miles an hour through these cornfields, right? And I was determined I was not going to get caught. So I threw this fucker into 5th gear, and I was just flying. And what I did was, to get away from him, I like drifted, and I made a really sharp right-hand turn, and I pulled up into a cornfield. And I just trashed like 100 feet of corn. I mean, literally, I was driving through the cornfield and stopped. I turned off my lights. When I turned my lights off, and I was just hoping that the furrows weren't too deep or anything else, and I just stopped, and the cop, boom, he flew right past me, and I was like, this is fucking sweet. And I got out of the car, and, again, no lights or anything. I was just kind of looking and waiting to see. I walked back to where the road was and looked. The cop was gone. It was like, okay, corn is beautiful, man. Corn is beautiful. So that's my cornfield story.
See, all my cornfield stories involve drinking. I was drinking in a cornfield and then the cops showed up. So like field parties are a thing we have in Wisconsin. You're drinking in high school. It is like what's the movie or the TV show, That 70s Show? It's kind of like that, and it basically hasn't changed in 50 years, as far as I know. And so we just go to the friend's house that pick one of your friend who is a farmer. Go there, drink beer in a cornfield or a barn, and then the cops would inevitably, because we'd have to keep rotating them, because it's a small town. The cops know one of the field parties is happening, so they just look for where it's happening, and then you just run away through the cornfield and hope you're not the one that gets caught. And every Monday, you go back to school. And just see which one got caught. Like that's the story for the week, and then it repeats. Oh, small town Wisconsin.
So replace cornfields with like oak trees and pine trees, and that's Florida. Like that's what we did too.
Really?
Right? Like
really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
See,
cool.
but corn is your
That's
friend.
great.
Like if you embrace the corn will embrace you back.
Yeah, children of the corn, God.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's
So
great stuff.
I just for kicks and not counting Magical Kitties, which is the RPG I played at the beginning of the day. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 game systems of 7 different RPG game systems in arm's reach right now.
Wow.
That's not including my stuff that's still packed up or the things I own as just like PDFs that I supported some like Kickstarter for like a random RPG. Like I bought Blades in the Dark, still haven't read it. Just hear it's great. Like, and I'm like, ooh, RPG. Oh, you play exclusively rogues? And it's got like the coolest combat system ever. I hear, and it's like very, very RP intense. I'm like, yes, and I just haven't done it yet.
Have either one of you guys? And again, this is Dan, the Primaris Ancient here talking. Have you guys ever heard
like
of
you're
Traveler?
you're one combat away from being in the
Dreadnought?
yeah
Pretty much, yeah. So, have you ever heard of Traveler?
Mm-mm.
It was like a sci-fi, and the one thing that was funny is we all had T-shirts made, and it's like you haven't truly played Traveler until you've died during character creation. No, it's hilarious because and we had these T-shirts we wear like, oh, you play. It's like, yes. There was this mechanic where you could continually. It was like 4-year intervals, and you found out depending on what you picked, you joined the Army or the Air Force or whatever you were. You were a diplomat or whatever else, and there were certain risks involved based on your chosen vocation. And while you were rolling, you could choose. You start like when you're 18, and then again, when you're 22, you can re-enlist or re-up and keep doing that thing. And there was a small risk that you would die during one of your 4-year things that you did. And then you could go for another 4 years. And then, so people would like push the envelope constantly while they were doing character creation. It would be like 2 hours in, and some asshole would go to like, oh, I'm going to go for my 5th tour of duty. And a guy would die. And it was like, what? We haven't even started playing the game yet. It was hilarious.
I wrote it down because I automatically want to check this RPG out. I have died during character creation, though. It just wasn't Traveler.
I'll have to, you're going to have to sit, because I've actually got the PDF files for Traveler still. Like, they've reissued them over time.
Yeah.
And you'll have to take a look at it. But the character creation thing, it was just hilarious.
Oh, man.
And the game was actually pretty good. It was not like... I play Pathfinder now. In fact, I'm playing a game tomorrow, which is nice, getting ready for RockCon, because that's all I do for 3 days is play Pathfinder.
Love it.
But I had, reissued this, or kind of seen the reissue of Traveler, and I looked at it, and I was looking through the character creation stuff, and it's like, this was actually pretty smart the way they did it. It was just so different, the mechanic of compared to what we do for normal.
This is
RPGs.
research to me, honestly. The type of game, the game I want to make, I'm keeping it under lit. I don't see anything like it in the market right now, and I'm like, I mean, that doesn't mean success, but it's like I have like you're passionate about something, you're like, wait, why the fuck doesn't this exist? And you're just like looking around and trying to find something like that exists, and you're like,
sure.
And that's what happened. I'm like, why the fuck haven't I made an RPG yet? Like I made like RPGs as a kid, and I made like little homebrew rules, and like, why haven't I done that in a while? Like, I made an unofficial Final Fantasy RPG when I was in 7th grade. Like, why the hell haven't I done this in that long? I did a bunch of video game stuff. If you ask me, I'll tell you the highest rung on my ladder of nerdery is RPGs. I just happen to have a show about Warhammer, and, not because I don't love Warhammer. Obviously, I love Warhammer. Again, that's the one I make the show about. But, like, it's just, I don't know, man. So anyway, no, Traveler. This show. Have you ever played what was it called? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it. Continuum.
No.
Okay. So first off, if you get Continuum and you wish to play in Continuum, it is the one game where you absolutely should not read the GM's only section. Once you read it, the game is ruined.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow.
Like, it's this time traveler game. It's one of the coolest games I've ever personally played in. And Heywoah and I have stories about Continuum. But it's like so it's a time travel game, and like you just play somebody who happens to be capable of time travel. And so like say like the example we always used is like if you have like a Pepsi in the fridge and like you drink the Pepsi in the fridge and then somebody goes back in time to remove the Pepsi from the fridge, and you're supposed to drink the Pepsi in the fridge, and you go to get the Pepsi, and you do not drink it, you gain something called quiet. And if you gain enough quiet, you become an intangible, like, time paradox ghost, and, like, your character's gone. So you need to, like, then go back in time after the person steals the Pepsi, and then put the Pepsi in the fridge, so it's there when you go to drink it in the current timeline. It is one of the most gnarly, like, awesome RPGs I've ever played. I played it one time, and I've been having, like, like the way you dream about something that you did one time and you like loved it but never saw it again, and you're like, I need this again in my life. I just every now and then I wake up having played a session of Continuum, and I'm like, oh, I was just dreaming that, and like this is the game that haunts me.
Okay.
But I need to track it down and stuff. It's so creep.
So I got a question then. So we all play role playing games, right? And I'm assuming everybody's pretty consistent with it. Do you have a class that you lean towards for both of you guys? So Dan and Meph, you could use WoW classes if you want to make that easier, right? Like DPS or tank or support, right?
I'm so all over the place because I'm a forever GM stereotype, which means like I'm often playing. When I'm playing, I'm the GM, and so I'm not really playing a character for me. I'm playing a bunch of support characters and like NPCs and stuff like that. And then like I have a plethora and a range of characters for my party to interact with. When I'm playing, my ideas that I usually just unload on an entire setting, I have to rein into just one. So usually I get obsessed with an idea of something I would like to play. And then I'm like, that's the next time I get an opportunity to play, I'm playing that. That's what I'm playing. And like it's because I'm obsessed with an idea or something cool. And I go back and forth pretty consistently between a tank, but usually like if I'm a tank, it's often a paladin or like some weirdo combo thing I've discovered with like a dual wield warrior and evasion tank type thing, which you can get to work in.
There he is. Here he is. Yeah. That's my guy.
I love this.
So warrior paladin.
Paladin for me in Pathfinder, or champion. The new guy's called. And that's in Pathfinder. Now in D&D, I just but
in D&D you're what?
I'm a ranger. Usually play rangers.
Okay.
The one thing that I think is interesting about RPGs, whether it be D&D or Pathfinder, or whatever, is you got the optimizers. The optimizers, the ones that just want to have that perfect character that, min-max kind of thing. And then you have people who are actually there to role play. And I just think it's interesting. That's one of the dynamics I enjoy about both groups. Yeah, why not? I think it'd be great. But it's weird, like, that people sometimes break themselves down. And one of the things I was going to say for me that I love doing is usually my character, one of his character flaws is he disassociates sometimes because he's had all this trauma, and everybody wants to talk to him. So like people are trying to talk to that character in the group as the role playing's going on, and he'll just like sit there. Like I won't talk to anybody.
Like you actually get in this mode where you yourself become
and it just drives people nuts, and I love that. It's hilarious. It's just like, no, Dan, it's okay, you can talk. And you're just like, I'll look at them.
Well, because it's not who you are. Like you're actually very really like amicable, very yeah.
But that's one of the things I love is the role playing part of it. And everybody plays the way they play, and it's a wonderful thing that you can be somewhere else and something else,
or like take yourself and invert it, or twist around, take ideas that you have and twist them and stuff. Like I love that aspect of. That's why I love role playing games. There was a comment made way earlier on, and I kept wanting to come back to it, but the conversation moved away from it. Was in chats. I'm sorry, I forgot who said it, but they said that like. It was when we were talking about like Warhammer. It was with the Owens, and we were kind of joking about, mapping the armies to various like politics and stuff like that, just as a gag, just for fun. And somebody said that like, Warhammer, or I don't remember what the word they used. The word I would use is fiction. Fiction allows you to experience uncomfortable ideas in a comfortable space. That's I think the power of RPGs. RPGs are a little different because it's a collective experience, and so like it's not just my comfort that I'm exploring. It's like everyone else has to have like a level of comfortability at the table as well. But with stories like this, you do get to like, well, what if I was venting some of my darker urges as a character? What does that look like? I want to play a barbarian that really indulges his rage. I'm worried about my anger issues. So like, what does barbarian me look like, who just indulges his rage at every moment? How does that affect his life? How does it, if you've got a really great GM or a really great ST or whatever, they're going to that rage is your superpower, but it's also kind of going to like get you in trouble, you know, when you rage and you engage in a fight you're not supposed to, or like you, heaven forbid, turn on the party, right? Like, you know, what does that look like? You know, how does the party talk you down in those moments where you lose yourself? Like, that stuff is fun for me, and not just fun, but like engaging and interesting. I need that. You know, why do I like horror fiction? Because there's been reality horrors that I've seen, and then I need to explore how that made me feel in a safe space of like reading a book about like a ghost, and the trauma is, you know, subtextual, and the spooky ghost jumping out is, you know, it could be the ghost of my shattered past, but in the story it's an actual ghost, like, you know, like but back to the class question. I play tanks, but tanks in RPGs aren't low DPS. In a game where enemies are intelligent, you have to be able to hurt things for them to care to stop you,
Right.
and engage you. So like that's one of the things I actually like about like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinders. Like, usually the tank is the person who deals a bunch of damage but gets in your face to do it, and then they have some way of stopping you from disengaging them. You know, attacks of opportunity is the traditional way in Dungeons and Dragons, right? You run away from me, I'm going to curb stomp you. You don't want to take half your life bar of damage on my next swing when you run away from me. You know, that's what I think Paladin, like in Pathfinder, my favorite class is unequivocally Magus. It is the best class ever printed in anything ever. My entire life I have wanted a Gish like Swordmancer who casts sword. My whole life, it's all I've ever wanted. And no game had ever properly done it to my liking. You know, like I played like Scion, or not Scion, Exalted when it was like first coming out, and the meme was it's the anime game. And like, yeah, you have like cool sword techniques, but like there's never that moment where you just shout the name of the sword and swing it and someone is freaking dead. You know, that had never existed. And then Magus comes along, and I'm just like, finally, I get to cast sword! Like, and it, you know, it was like, so I get to be a wizard with my favorite spell in the entire world, which is Prestidigitation. The single greatest spell ever. You cannot convince me otherwise. like, oh, the soup is bland. Tastes saltier now. Prestidigitation. Oh, I got dirty walking through the bog or the marsh. Boom, clean, Prestidigitation. Like the bard is pissing me off, and he's hitting on somebody, and it's kind of uncouth. Smells like he just farted. Like, it's the best spell.
Isn't that a cantrip?
Yeah,
too?
yeah. So it's at will.
I was gonna say.
Like, it does. You could even make stuff. Like, you could just like have like a palm-sized amount of stuff. So like, if someone's like, "Oh, where's the key to this door?" and you're like trying to distract someone in combat, "Oh, I've got the key right here." Boom! Now I'm the tank. Like, right? Like, it's best spell. Fight me. Like, it's the greatest spell in the world. You just have to be smart. Like, you just have to be a genius in its use, and its uses, its applications are limitless. So, like Magus, I get to be a wizard. I don't step on the toes of the actual like master of time space wizard who wants to be in the party, but I get to cast the utility spells. I've got haste. You know, I've got the pocket haste. Boom. We're all hasted. Yeah, like you know, wizard. Don't waste a precious spell slot. I got the haste, because I only need one lightning grip. One lightning grip to just cast sword and destroy this person, you know? I got the haste this time, wizard. Like, proper wizard. And, you know, I love Magus so much.
Yeah, one other thing to show you guys.
Yeah, right on.
By the way, questioner, how about you?
In fifth ed, I'm divided between Warlock and Paladin. I love them both so much, and I can't choose, and they're two sides of the same coin. And then other things, I'm kind of like some combination of wanting to be a wizard, but also wanting a sword at all times. And I'm like, and then sometimes the sword is a kukri, and I'm a rogue, because casting dagger is very similar to casting sword.
God.
Casting sneak attack dagger.
Right, I cast sneaky sword. Pew.
The casting sword has always been a running joke, because I always talk about how I wanted to play like an orc wizard who like thought he was a wizard, but he really wasn't. Like, and he's like, I'm gonna cast club, and then he just hits you really hard. You're like, oh, that's a really good spell, man.
Boy, do I have a class for you. It's called Rage Mage, and it takes levels of Barbarian and Wizard.
Oh my god.
But to answer your question, Dan, I am like 70% support and like 30% like classic tank. Like I love clerics, right? Like even though I'm not like a big fan of like I wish I could be like an unaligned cleric, but like I love just being like you're healed.
You don't like divine casters, but you want. They're called priests, and they're pretty dope and OP. Like their whole thing is they steal power from gods, but don't believe in them. They're like nihilists and stuff. Yeah.
Well, this shows you the kind of paladin I am. So this is a model of the paladin I just showed you.
Yeah.
Right.
You see, but it's laying dead. So this was gotten for me. This version of this guy, which is a like on the ground dead version, was bought to me by some of my students who I used to run DM. I used to DM stuff at my high school for my students, and I would always tell them stories about how I would go around healing people as a paladin, but I would just get the shit shot out of me and beat out of me, and I would be every single session I'd be unconscious. And then I'd get up and I'd go heal some other people, and I'd get beat again and I'd be unconscious. And they're like, okay, Mr. Bears, we got to get you a fig so that when you're on the ground so much, you can put this on the table. So it was pretty good, and I used it. So
that's fantastic.
So we have a cleric, and we have whatever, like a magus. You're magus.
Magus is it like it's. I want to cast sword, and sometimes I like to be raw deeps, and sometimes I like to be a tank that casts sword, which is why paladin is great. Like I love in MMOs, I'm always a tank, like always a tank. But in RPGs, it's different because like this whole like the boss has threat, and like it's not the same dynamic when your enemies. If you're with a experienced GM, your enemies think and they do stuff, and they know that the wizard's going to shape reality if they don't get to that wizard. So the tanks isn't like, hey, your mom, and like they're like, oh, you've insulted me, I must engage you in a fight. Like that's not how it goes, unless you play like Guybrush Threepwood, like the insult bard who like magically compels you to fight them, which is a different type of tank, which is also fun, and I've played like an insult bard. But like unless you're doing that, like it doesn't make sense for you to just be the warrior with a tower shield and a sword. Of course I'm going to ignore you and go fight the wizard, which is why our wizards in one particular game all were able to wear heavy armor or illusioned to look like the guy with the tower shield and sword, so that they charge the guy in the actual plate mail wearing robes and stuff. And then like they did it.
That's great.
But that's the stuff you could only do in like in RPGs, like the game mechanic, video games. Even like the best war game in the world doesn't replicate that type of experience, that like
right. That's true.
You can have the most narrative campaigns in the world. I guess Animosity comes close with their sort of like turn actions and stuff like that because they write a flowing narrative, but there's just that in the moment like improv, that I don't know.
So my nerdiest thing I have ever done is in basic training, we made dice out of cardboard to play D&D.
I'm so proud of you. I love you so much more than I did before.
In
basic. So on Sundays, I went to Fort Benning, Georgia, right? We were the first all-support class to come through there, so they were very not happy with us, right? Because Fort Benning's home of the infantry, etc. So Sundays was normally like, we're just gonna leave you alone. Like you can go to chapel, and then like you can catch up, you can clean, you can put your stuff away, and then we're just gonna kind of leave you alone. And so a drill sergeant comes wandering through our little bunk hall, whatever you want to call it at that point. It's not really a barracks, but comes in there and he pulls us all to the side, right? Sees the dice, and he is like, "Are you guys gambling?" And we're like, "No, drill sergeant, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons." And he's like, "Oh my god!" His face just dropped, and he's like, "You're all a bunch of effing nerds," and he just walked away, and we're like,
he had to maintain the air of authority, but he wanted to join.
Oh my god, that's hilarious! That is hilarious. Play D&D. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
is so funny.
One of my friends from high school, so Gouda, he's a streamer. He's in and out here. He's been advertising this show. Gouda and he was one of my core gaming groups. I went to a bunch of different high schools, but like literally like I when I moved to Green Bay, they came over and visited me to play riffs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like he was always one of the people who was like very committed to the game when he was playing the game, but like at school we talked about it like on I think last week on RantCast how like you maintain your cliques when you're at school, and so like you kind of like don't really hang out and stuff like that. And like he went off to basic training and came back 3 times the nerd he ever was. Like he suddenly so like all the GMing, all the tutelage I had given him like off and on for like 4 years of high school GMing his group wherever I was, you know? Like he just went there and then like he suddenly once, you know, deployed, he suddenly was the GM with, you know, Rifts and Palladium and stuff. And it was like and like that there was that moment where I was just like my boy all grown up and running games like
Wow. That's great.
Man, I think we need to get more troops playing like role-playing games. It's got to be pretty cathartic. It's got to be pretty good.
That's hilarious.
There's a lot of it. There was a lot of so in the barracks. There's a lot of them. Like when I first got to my unit in El Paso, like I joined a group and then the DM left, and then like everybody was like, "Do you want to DM?" Like we did that awkward. Like, everybody looked at each other, and then it was really interesting because everybody was like, "Nah." And everybody just left. Stopped. We were just like, nope, not doing that.
That's funny. Good stuff.
Well, see, that's how the Forever GM stereotype starts, right? Is like you're just the one who happens to want to GM, so that means you will forever be the GM. And like I'm like I like to play too. It's so much stress running games all the time. Like when you play, you get to be the asshole disrupting the person's like meticulously laid plans by not doing the thing they intended and have planned for 4 months for. Why don't you just open the door, Stan? Just open it. Sorry, no, I'm kidding. I have never heard GM someone named Stan, but it was a joke.
Okay, we get it.
Yeah,
it's okay.
So one of my favorite characters I've ever played was in Rifts, right? And it was when they did the
you started this, Dan. You started this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They did that like half update where they didn't fully update Rifts, but they like updated some of the things. So like Leyline Walkers got a little bit better, right? And I made a Leyline Walker that was like scared of being dirty. Like he hated being dirty. Right, and so like he was constantly casting cleanse on himself, and that was probably the most fun I had in a game. Like we were running around and we had kill stuff, and I'd be like, "Jump out of the way!" And they're like, "Why are you moving back?" I was like, "That almost got on me. Like, what are you talking about?"
A neat freak. Oh, that's
yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's good.
Everyone really liked my when I was running Rifts. Everyone loved my like take on crazies because I would always have like really quirky crazies, and so crazy is. In Rifts, for those that don't play Rifts, like Rifts is the Pandora's box of RPG settings. If it exists, it's in Rifts. The whole thing is a post-apocalyptic setting. There was a golden age of humanity somewhere around the year 3000. You know, life expectancy was 200 years old, or it was 200 because of all the great technology, and you know they're on the cusp of like they're on the cusp of developing AI, which is a big plot point for like the Archie 3 stuff. They're on the cusp of developing true AI. They've got like genetic super soldiers, you know, called juicers that like are juiced. They've got like the first mechs are coming off the line, and there's like world peace, but like technology is super awesome. So they like a global like Cold War starts, and they all start developing all the sweetest technology ever. And then they use it on each other, and Mother Earth is like, nah, fuck that, and basically explodes, and all the magical ley lines that are like have lying dormant for, you know, since the Dark Ages or whatever, erupt, and they tear like holes in time-space. Like half of Japan is just jettisoned into the ether. Like all of Japan is jettisoned into the ether, and then one half of it comes back as alternate reality Japan, who thinks that they're like the traditionalist Japanese, like, who have rediscovered the old ways, and they're actually alternate dimension, like, timeline Japan. And then the ones who, like, have embraced supreme technology are actually the original Japan. And, like, China's just like, yo, the world's about to explode, F this. And, like, they like, descend their entire continent into what's called the Geofront. and like the whole up and like the whole like so they're all subterranean, and then like the whole of China is just this like Yama King's mist filled with demons and all of the circles of hell, and
He is not even touching on the crazy portion.
no, this is the stuff I can explain
I mean,
easily.
I've seen it, but I've never heard like out. This is great.
The beginning of Rifts, like just the first like 10 pages, is so amazing because like one of them fires off a nuke, which makes people die. Oh, when people die, their essence goes into ley lines. Well, then the ley lines erupt, and more people die, and it just goes.
Yeah. So they have like these shots of like from space
God.
of like the ley lines, like where half of the planet is like you can even see some of the ley lines during the day because normally you can't see, and then the other, but they're so powerful you can see them during the day on one half of the planet. On the other half, it's just like a star system unto itself of just connected like webs of magical energy.
And then when they cross, Dan,
Nexus.
they make rifts into they make nexuses and rifts into other dimensions. Then other shit comes in,
like demons and
great.
shit. It's so cool. It's like the coolest setting ever. But in during the Golden Age, they discovered something called MOM implants, which are these like things that they put into your brain, and they unlock the latent psychic energy in a human so that they can like become super soldiers. So like they're the alternate technology to the juicer technology, which is like tons of drugs and genetics. And then but like with your brain you can become a super soldier. So they get you MOM implants. But MOMs are like bad because like you unlock all the the latent psychic energy to make yourself better, faster, stronger. But you also go crazy. And so like your character, as you get more powerful, you descend more and more into madness, and you get to the point where you are Neo in the Matrix and you're auto-dodging bullets, but like you're afraid of the dark. And so I just
that sounds like Psychers in UK. That's what that sounds like. It's kind of interesting to hear you guys talking about this because right away I'm trying to have some frame of reference. Because just the conversation from both of you, it's like being in space without any no navigational information, so you don't know where you are. That's what I'm trying to connect it to something. So this reminds me a lot of like webways in 40K and things like that, where you can travel between points and do all those kind of things. That's kind of my frame of reference. But I mean, it sounds like, how do you play a character if all these things are changing on this huge meta scale? How do you play characters?
You can play a dragon.
Like you started as a dragon. Like you can have a guy who's a city rat, and his whole thing is he gets you can be a vagabond. And the vagabond gets a bar of soap and a bag of candy. Good luck. And then you're in the party with the freaking dragon hatchling who just woke up 9 days ago, but has ancestral knowledge of the last 3,000 years and knows how to cast spell magic innately. Riffs is whack, yo. The first line written by the editor, Kevin Simbedia, is, "Life is not fair, our game isn't." And it's just like... and it's so perfect. Made in Michigan, actually, headquartered in Michigan, Palladium Books. And the thing is like, how do you run a game with all that going on? This is why Rifts has the horrible reputation, is because bad GMs let you play all of that stuff in the same game, and they should not. You need a strong GM to be able to tell if somebody wants to play the dragon. This is the game where people are playing dragons, undead slayers, temporal wizards or temporal warriors. Like, you're on that power level. If you're...
So is it all homebrew, or do you have adventure paths and that kind of thing as well in this? Pre-gen type of stuff.
They're very light on modules. The thing they have some the big thing Simbedia did, or the big thing he wanted to do, was when you make it you get your classes and stuff, but he wanted a narrative that progresses every single book, which is why they've never had a new edition. So it's a mess rules wise, but everything, you just pick it up and you read about all the NPCs and all what's happening. Oh yeah, there's a gargoyle war in where Germany is against sweet mechs like the Ultimax. It's just
I'm loving that.
It's just the Ultimax versus gargoyles, and gargoyles are lesser demons. So it's just all the where civilization used to be, like Berlin, for instance, which is in the little thing, is just like overrun by the Gargoyle Empire, and now you just pilot mechs to fight them, and it's like, and so
That's
like
hilarious.
the closest thing they did is like they do what are called hook, line, and sinkers, which is like you get the hook, the line, the sinker, and then you're just kind of you look into the book for like what the narrative is and stuff like that. So it's like you get a world book, and the way I rate it is usually is like the easiest way is to just be like, we're playing a triax game, so like everyone's out of the triax book. Like there is a like a range of power even in, because there's going to be a difference between a guy in an Ultimax and like one of the like Gargoyle Slayer dudes, right? Like, but like if you're within the same book, you're even in the same framework. If you're bringing in like Rift's Cosmonites, who are dudes that take 1/1000th of a damage from lasers because they're designed to fight spaceships, where like you take the spaceship's main cannon and then divide it by 1,000, and they take a pittance of damage. If you have the Cosmonite in your world, you're on a different scale. Like it's just Rift's like in Rift's role playing plays you.
Oh God, that's hilarious.
It's not without it's got so many flaws. Like in terms of they've never had a
super hard to teach.
And the hardest thing is like I love Rift so much, but I want to like if I want to get a group together, I have to teach people, and I did like 20 years of teaching people Rifts just so I could run Rifts, and then I finally had a family, and I'm like, I think I'm done running Rifts until I meet like the magical group that all knows Rifts already. But I have such a fire for it, and I miss it so much. I'm like, I might teach 5 more disciples the ways of Rifts.
It's so fun and it's so cool. But building a character for Rifts is literally like a day.
Yeah,
like
true story.
Like because they take skills and it goes to like percentile, and you're like, I can speak American at 70%, and like you have to go through every single one.
All the different splat books and figure out where all your +2s and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds awesome.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, like
it's so much fun.
I mean, if you ask me my favorite class in Rifts, it's Gunslinger.
Of course it is.
Like why?
What's yours, Dave? What's yours?
Oh, I have so many. Right?
You got Gunslinger. Yeah.
Off the complete top of my head, and I know this will shock Meph, is probably Glitter Boy, right? Like
Timmy, Timmy. Okay, so they have something called a boom gun, which like fires like. You want to describe it? You describe it.
So first of all,
the kickback. You got to describe the kickback of it.
9 feet tall, right? And it's mounted to your shoulder, and it fires. And when you fire it, you fire pylons into the ground, and jets push the other way because it's such a sonic boom that comes out of it. And they're like
riffs. Just
that's crazy.
Hold on. Here, I'll show you my prize and joy here.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, the gun has so much kickback. You have jets in your back to stop you from flying backwards.
Where did you get that? That looks like original something. Where did you get that?
They had a guy who embezzled a bunch of their money, and they did like a Kickstarter, and they said, hey, if you kickstart us some money, we'll do original artwork for you. Right?
Oh yeah.
And so I have
so that's Rifts.
1939. Yeah.
Rifts would be way more mainstream if dude had never embezzled money from them, because they were on a trajectory to being like in the late 90s. They were on a trajectory to become like they were probably in our area. They were out competing White Wolf and Vampire Games. Like they were on a trajectory to like kind of match like D&D was on the wane. Like Fourth Ed. 3.5 and was decent, but like it was still diminishing. And Fourth Ed was like this reboot to get a whole new audience to play, to get the MMO crowd to come over, basically. And Rifts was competing for a spell there, but when the dude embezzled it, Symbedia went the opposite direction. He got more reclusive. He trusted people less, and he micromanaged even more and even more. And so it's like this fantastic IP with this great just. It's just great, and yet it's like it's just kind of like slowly, he goes to every Gen Con. You can see Symbedia there, but like it's just this wonderful little gem of a game that everyone agrees has the worst rules in the world, but like just some of the best flavor. I'm trying to find the Glitter Boy, like the anatomy of the Glitter Boy. It's at the front.
Yeah, it's like page like 39 or 40, somewhere in there. It's right near the front.
This is a Borg. Like, it looks like... So, Borgs in the lore, they wear demon faceplates because when Borg technology was taking back the Earth, they were fighting demons. So you look like a demon because you fight demons. Bow down and down. Like...
So they take your brain and put it in a robot body.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And those aren't even the cool Borgs. Let's go to Russia and talk about Russian Borgs.
Oh, where you're just like you're a tank. Like you are a tank.
Yeah. Like you have treads for legs and like chainsaws for arms, or you can be an angel and you have wings, or you can be a tiger with whips that come out of your claws. Oh no.
Yeah. So they're called glitter boys because
it's like Admech.
So here's your classic glitter boy. It's called the boom gun. Like when you fire, you can see the little cracks in the ground below because like the pylons are deployed. And here's
when you said boom gun, that makes me think of Army of Darkness when he talked about
this is my boomstick.
This is my boomstick.
Yeah. So you've got your anatomy of a glitter boy. Like the pylons eject into the ground, and your jets stop you from getting knocked down so that you can shoot the huge cannon. And this, you can just start out playing a glitter boy. It's so good.
Okay. All right.
But as Meph was saying earlier, it really depends on your power level. Like, there's so many classes in there I like. I really liked when they redid the Leyline Walker, right? Because magic is super unique. Like, it's not the most powerful.
No, it's the opposite of powerful Rifts Russia. I'll find you keep talking. I'll find the really sweet like.
Yeah.
There's so many cool things. There's a group like Paladins. They're called Cyber Knights, right? And
my favorite character in Rifts is still a Cyber Knight. My favorite class is different from my favorite character.
When they did an update, they made it so like these other people who have technology, Cyber Knights jam their like targeting beacons. So there you go.
A Russian Borg. Like Russian Borg. It has tank treads because you do. Like this is a sentient being because their brain is like inside their chest cavity and they're wired to this whole thing. Like Riffs is sweet, and this is my favorite artist that's ever inked for them is Raymond Perez. He's just I don't know what he's doing now, but like
art is gorgeous. The art's gorgeous.
Yeah, go on.
I did get to play in one of those games where we're going to put the power level at Dragon. So I did get to play a Dragon, which is hilarious. You plateau very quickly. Like, you start off and you're like, oh, I'm super powerful. And then you're like, I got a level. And you're like
almost reminds me of an Imperial Knight, like here.
Oh, that does. That looks exactly like the Warlord Titan or something. Yeah.
Get to the cat one.
Published in 1998. Like, so I don't know when the Titan came out, but that was Raymond Perez. Perez is just freaking Ecto Hunter. It's a Ghostbuster. It's a freaking post-apocalypse Ghostbuster. These are silver bullets on his belt because, like,
oh, that's too much.
Bound now. Like, sorry.
Now, so when you pick a character, you're gonna play a game. They say for level, and that's how you pick what your character is gonna be because each characters have kind of a certain power.
Yeah, right after the Ecto Hunter, who is a Ghostbuster, Russian villager. Same book.
So you can play a Russian villager.
Yeah,
that's like power level 1. Yeah, and you can play a Russian tank guy. That's like level 20.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay.
We played a game in the very first world book that came out was the Mexico world book, which is all about vampires, right? And my favorite part of it is like they're very folklore driven. So moving water hurts vampires. So you walk in there with squirt guns. Like that's literally how you're fighting vampires. Oh, it's so much fun.
Moving water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It's
great. Okay. All right.
Yeah. No. It's Rifts. So I used to run. So we actually hit the milestone tonight where I'll run some one shots for Chat Gang. Just DM me if you're interested in the one shots. I'll dust off the train heist. I will dust off the train heist. This is I used to run a train heist Rifts adventure to get into Gen Con for free when it was still in Milwaukee, and then in the early days when they moved to Indy, I would run this to, I'm a teenager, I want to get to the thing for free, so I'd run, I don't know, 10 hours of the same Rifts game or something, or 17 hours of the same Rifts game, something like that.
I will be the dog boy in the top hat and monocle. What was it, bear boy?
It was a bear boy, thank you.
Yeah.
And he had like a what's his name?
So,
Arthur
for
Conan
reference,
Doyle's character. Why am I blanking? Sherlock. He had a Sherlock Holmes hat, like a monocle and like a pipe. Okay, to be fair, I did not write him with that stuff. The guy playing him took it, and he's a bear boy. So what was the guy with the monocle going to do?
to be fair, Dan, a bear boy is like an anamorphic bear, right?
Okay.
So like it's like a bear with like human sentient kind of type of thing, where it's like half man, half bear. It's
Yeah,
like
they've gene spliced a bear up to being.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, except they did it with gene splicing instead of like mutagen.
Because the common one in the game is called Dog Boys, right?
Okay.
And so I got to play a game where we were all dog boys, and I had a blast with that. Like, your power levels were lower, but like each type of dog had something different. You're like, you're a German Shepherd, so you can do this, and you're a pit bull, so you can do this. Like, it was really fun.
That's hilarious. That's great. That's great.
There's a better bear boy picture than this, but there's one.
Okay.
And the pack of dog boys around him.
Yeah.
So, man, I miss Rifts. Why did I talk about it? Why'd you make me talk about this, Dave?
Just it's the same reason why Mass Effect 3 is the best Mass Effect.
Won't happen. Won't work this time.
So I'm going to segue for just a second. So did you? I don't know if we even had it on the show, Dave, but I'm looking at your shirt. Did I ever say on this show, yes, that I actually found a book series called Vampirates?
No,
yeah. So, and I wanted to say it because I didn't know if you had heard that. I was looking, just when, vampires were coming out, I was so pumped about it. And I don't know why, I was just randomly looking for something that had to do with it. So I just typed it in, Vampirates, and boom, it pops up on Amazon. I'm like, there's a whole fucking book series. So you have to go and check it out, because I read the first one and it was really enjoyable. It was actually pretty good. I would say it's like young adult. It's not like super complex or anything. But since we're both if you're anybody who's into, there is such a thing.
This makes me.
And it was a whole book series. It was just too much.
This pleases me. Yeah, the Dog Boys thing is they're like genetically engineered to be like cannon fodder for the evil guys in the story, the coalition, the CS of mankind, the coalition states of mankind. They're Nazis because every setting has Nazis.
Of course.
But the Dog Boys, since they're loyal to humans, they're kind of like we evolved alongside dogs practically for like dog loyal. Anyway. So like that's kind of in there. Like dogs are super they have a kinship towards humans. So like the CS states use the technology to breed like kind of this like race of cannon fodder, and a big plot point in the Lone Star books and the Picos Empire type stuff, which is the Picos Empire is Texas. Like the whole thing is like there are like dog boy freedom fighters that are like shock troop style assaulting coalition compounds to try to free all the dog boys and stuff. It's like one of my characters named Grim McSlam, who was a dog boy glitter boy pilot, was a freedom fighter for the was a freedom fighter for the Picos Empire, and he's a canonical character, so like they have all the various like bandit kings. He's one of like the bandit kings. If you ever run into my games, you can hear about like Grim McSlam, who's got like a bounty, and you could potentially try to hunt him for the coalition if you want, or like you could join him and like do an adventure where like he's recruiting mercenaries to like sack Dr. Bradford's facility in the Lone Star complex and stuff like that. So like all kinds of like. I played so much Rifts. My friend Sam and I, like, it was just us running solo adventures every night, all throughout like 7th grade, 8th grade, and 9th grade until I moved away like halfway through 9th grade, and so just you get so much gaming in when it's just like 2 people every night, and so like we have just these rosters of characters and inside stories, and like we've just put them in our Rifts books and our Rifts worlds, and so they're just like around as like little nods to just.
And one of my favorite parts about Rifts is that it still takes place on Earth. right?
Mhm.
So it's not, you're not on a different planet, you're not on anything. And so like they tie things, because it's post-apocalypse, they tie things into things in Earth. So when you got to do like the Swampland books, or the Dinosaur Island books or whatever, Dinosaur Land books,
Dinosaur Swamp.
where you got to Florida.
Florida's just dinosaurs. It's all
Oh,
dinosaurs.
you gotta love that. You had to love that.
So there's a haunted castle somewhere in the middle of the state where the ghosts of children go up and down, and it's Disney World.
Orlando, as I was gonna say.
Yeah. And so like, and they do just little things like that where you're like, oh, like the Ark in St. Louis
Is
right?
a devil
Like
is a permanent rift to hell. Well, like it's just a permanent rift that's open. It's called the Devil's Arch. So like New York City, they think it sunk into the ocean, but like it didn't. It's just a place called Mad Haven now, and because there were so many people when the rifts erupted and the war happened, like it's just ghosts. As just crazy ass ghosts as far as the eye can see, with this one bastion of civilization at the center of it at Grand Central Park, or at Central Park, basically. So there's like one bastion is like thing, and like nobody in Rifts realizes New York is still there because like as a huge population center. Wisconsin, it's just a magic zone. It's uninhabitable. Just permanent rifts and swampland and ghosts and demons and shit. Like,
God.
Chicago is a foothold for demons, basically. And Chi-Town is in Missouri, and that's like the main bastion of human civilization right now.
Is it Michigan Zytek territory?
Yeah, Michigan is Zytekix, and part of Minnesota is either Zytekix or like one of the Magic Kingdoms, Tolkien, that just got assaulted and wrecked. They got wrecked, Tolkien lost.
Zytek is every fear
they're
that you
xenomorphs.
can have about a bug put into one thing.
Yeah, they're like bug xenomorphs. They're Zerg. They're Zerg. What are they called?
Tyranids.
They're Tyranids. Except like except they actually have queens, and like they've evolved to like not too much different from Tyranids.
But they make big hives like bees.
Oh, their hives are meteors from space. Oh yeah, it's totally like Tyranids. It's like just Tyranids.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Let's see.
When I hear these kind of stories, it always makes me wonder. Oh, so this was an original idea? Well, wait a minute. This has been around for 10 years.
They read Starship Troopers. Like, they read Starship Troopers, right? They fight bugs and Starship Troopers. And
of course.
Yeah, so, like, I mean, that's what it is. And then, like, somebody heard space bugs, and one person interpreted them as Tyranids when they did their influence. One did Zerg, and one did Zytekix. And, like, that's how influence works. That's why the whole IP thing is kind of silly to me. Like, how do you own inspiration and ideas?
Sure.
I understand iconography and specific things, but like overall, like I don't know. Anyway, real quick, I got some donations to read here coming in. We're entering the home stretch here, the last half hour. So donate $5 for potential to win a Slanesh lot. Lexolopolis says Rantathon. Exalted Griff says let's keep going. Osmo says in for depravity. Nice. Grim Slacker says still here building stuff. Hey Grim, how's it going? Vanilla Sauce Sigvald.
That's great.
Wallord says Joel says I want a Slanesh. Dan Caravan, let's see if I can break the 6K this hour. I think almost.
We're so close to making Halo buy a hat.
Yeah, $35, right? DJ Push Start, so happy to be back again, listening and learning. Thank you for the vets block. Super important to hear from this voice as well. New hat big, yeah. The Lord will. Thank you for the $5.69. Need more hats, says Hotspur, $10. Thank you so much. Another 6 for Slanesh, says Dark Elf Sorceress. I have a mighty need for the pain Slanesh brings, $5 from the Grob. Slanesh dollars for the Slanesh prize, $6. Thank you, Just Gut. SJ Arcade says hat 3216. Thank you, SJ. And $40 from Anon just showed up, which
Nice.
gets
Perfect.
us even closer yet. Yeah, so I mean,
6K.
anything you want to say, like, on the sort of, like, this is the veterans. Again, I don't want to, like, put anyone in a position to talk about anything they're not comfortable about, but is there anything either of you want to talk about regarding, you know, either being a veteran or perhaps mental health, anything along those lines?
No, for me, it's great that you even did this. I think it's really neat. I mean, I never knew you were a vet.
I'm not. I am not.
No,
I'm not.
I know
Dave
you're
is.
not,
Yeah,
but
no.
Dave is. Yeah, I didn't really realize that. And it's funny how you don't realize how many people around you are, because it's something I don't know. I don't speak for others, of course, but there's so many things you don't talk about. I mean, you have your funny stories. You always have your sea stories, as we used to say in the Navy. Everybody's got sea stories, but there's so many things you don't talk about that you never realize how many other people are out there. It's kind of weird that we had this today because I was, as I live on the river, and you guys know that, but we have like a footbridge that goes underneath a road bridge right downtown Milwaukee here. And I had walked out to my balcony to take a fresh air break. And there were like 300 or 400 people walking across the bridge.
I've thrown up over that bridge, by the way. That's right by Roots.
The Kangaroo Bridge. It's right next to Lakefront Brewery. In fact, it's right over top.
Yeah. I've thrown up over that bridge. Keep going.
There were like 300 or 400 people walking on this bridge, and they were vets. I know they were vets because I saw like the MIA flags, and they all had flags. They were all like, America's awesome, and God bless America and stuff. And it was just like, wow, all those people, and it had to be like 250, 300 people as I'm counting.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so cool that spontaneously these people just decided to get together, that they had this one thing in common, that for many of them is traumatic in a lot of ways, but also life-changing in positive ways. I think most of us who are vets, I can't again speak for everyone, but I think when you come out the other side of that experience, you certainly are a better person in a lot of ways, no matter what the trauma has been. It's improved certain aspects of what you were before you went in. Things you're somebody you didn't think in a positive way, and I think that's really important because again, we all had negative experiences, whether they were near-death experiences or whatever they were. But I think we sometimes don't stress the positive thing, and one of the most positive things, other vets we meet, and having that thing in common, it's such a powerful thing, that no matter what else there is between you, whether it's politics or whatever it is, the fact that you're both veterans, it bridges that gap, and you have that really strong thing in common.
Well, I think
that's for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Like, my grandpa he's a sailor, and like he was the one who, I graduated right after I was junior. I was looking to join the military right at 9/11, right after 9/11. My grandpa, who was in Vietnam, basically driving the evac skivs up into the swamp. He got buried with honors too. He just passed this year, and they could have warned us about actually doing the gun salute right next to the home, but no, he was the one who called me up, and he found out I was thinking of joining the Air Force, and he probably stopped me because it was the Air Force and not the Navy. But so he stopped me, and he never shared any of the traumatic stories, so I grew up thinking it was only the camaraderie, only the good stuff that he told me, and then he kind of I don't know. I was conflicted about a lot of that until his funeral, and I heard all these stories that I was the favorite, and he just had this because for a while I thought it was because he thought I was soft compared to because I get long hair. I was a little effeminate growing up, and so I thought it was because he thought I was soft or something, and not as tough as my cousins or whatever. And so I just I grew up with that reverence, and I think people have this stereotype about what a military veteran is, and being in Warhammer has because you think about the jingoist, the rah, and you don't realize that there's actually a depth of character and person to a lot of those that serve and stuff like that. And you said, you didn't know Dave was a vet, right? It's just if anything, it's breaking down stigmas and stereotypes is something that I think is super important. Camaraderie, friend, just I think that these are necessary tools in all aspects of life, and certainly when battling mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Dave?
So the biggest one for me out of this, so first of all, I was incredibly lucky, right? I was commo, right? So I did deploy, I did go over, I did see action, but like I was in the rear with the gear, right? Like I was not up on the front, right? I was sitting on an Air Force base, making sure I was brigade talk. I was making sure they could communicate. Now, granted, Guds did get very close to us, which is kind of terrifying when you like they didn't tell us how close until we got back, and we talked about it afterwards, and we were like, oh, so that you're telling me that missile landed like less than a half a mile from us? Like that's not okay. But like the biggest thing I got out of all of this, and just talking with Andrew and talking with some of my other friends, and then especially talking with some of my friends who are that are vets, is talk about things, right? Like I feel like for the longest time there was this big cultural thing, like you don't talk about it, you just hold it in, you got to be hard, like, and like when I got out, like and like I said, I didn't have to see like real combat or anything. I did not have life or death. But like when I came out, like I was a little messed up, right? Like, and I was emotionally just off, like, right? And it comes off, especially when you deal with civilians, and it comes off you just being a dick, right? And it took me a long time to get out of that and to kind of get back into a semblance of normal. But like that was one of the big things for me is I didn't talk about it, right? And because like I didn't see, like there wasn't like, it's not like my leg was broken, right? Which is easy to see, right? Like when you have things going on and you don't talk about it, like nobody knows, right? And it wasn't until like I had a girlfriend at the time, and she like would just drill into it until like I would like until she could crack and break down those walls, right? And bless her for doing it, right? Because even though I'm not with that person anymore, but like I'm 1,000% better because of it. But like talking is the biggest thing, and that's one of the things why I am a big supporter of what Meph does with this, right? And just the fact that it gets it out there and it shows like, hey, everybody has it, right? Like everybody needs this, right? Like I wish that like therapy was a more common thing across all things. Like, do you know how hard it is to get therapy with your insurance? Like it's ridiculous, right? Like the more people talk about this, the more things change, and the more things we can kind of like do that grassroots type of style of movement about it, and like get these things brought in. Like make sure people are talking, make sure we're checking up on each other.
You're not going to fight for it if you don't think you even need it, right?
Right.
You're not going to, and we do physical checkups. Just something as simple as a mental health checkup can go a long way, and just sorting yourself out. Like I know it seems simple or maybe even a little reductive, but continue, Dave. I'm sorry. Like I just agreeing with you, and
Well, I mean, I agree 100% with Dave. And there's this stigma. We use that word of, it's one thing if you can tell your death experience. People can say, "Oh, that's horrible," because it's physical, it's visceral. But you can't. But there's something else that happens when that happens to you, or you saw somebody, or you saw something. That there's something that doesn't show up, and people don't understand that that's really the thing you need help with. That's the thing that's the hardest to heal. It's not the physical thing that might have happened to you or somebody it's the mental piece. And my wife was just telling me that I think it was Ascension, she works for them, but they are going to donate like $1 million or something to make, and it was just thrilling to hear, they're going to make therapy and therapists more available now. They're going to hire literally hundreds of therapists or dozens, whatever that money will bring, because they realize there's such a shortage of that. And I think that's great that they're recognizing the fact that it's needed, and it's not a weakness. It's, and there's that balance. There's that weird balance where if you're using it as, I don't know, how do I say this in a good, not a good way, but a way not to diminish people. But if you're using it as, a way to say, oh, I can't do this, or I'm not able to do that, whatever else it is, rather than facing it and trying to work with it and get it fixed, you know, that makes it easier for people to do that, and it takes away some of that stigma when you know there are other people who are seeking that help. And realizing that, you know, everybody, it doesn't matter, everybody faces some kind of trauma, whatever it is. It's what you do about it. How proactive are you, and how much are you able to recognize the fact that this is the way life is. Whether we like it or not, trauma is part of life, and you have to kind of realize that it is, and you know,
cope. Helping people cope and helping people move past it, right? I mean, like I said, my boy Giannis, and Joel already promised to quit if I bring up basketball while he's on later on this evening. But joke's on you. I'm only going to be there for a little bit until Heywoah takes over. My boy Giannis, you know, the past is only useful as a measurement for where you are now, and the future is only useful for setting goals. Live in the now, right? And part of the experience, if you're, you know, I know that I'll always go through life with a little bit of like an emotional limp just because of trauma, but like I can't cling to that and let it define me my whole life. Like I can't anymore. Like I've joked about, like I've got a really like quirky sense of humor. I think I'm a pretty dope dude because of all I've experienced, but like, you know, I have to accept that a lot of what happened to me made me who I am. In the similar fashion you talk about, like you know, you had some bad stuff in the military, but like you're very happy with sort of the positive stuff too. You know, I had like the homelessness, the adversity, the you know, the darker shit I endured made me a really tough motherfucker, quite frankly. Like, and you know, when and I'm just, you know, but because I talk about my feelings sometimes, for someone to look at me and be like, "You're not tough," I'm just like, "Get out of here. I know better." You know, like it's just, that whole thing is just, again, not letting your trauma define you, and you know, again, it's part of you. You have to address it, but like not letting it define you is, I think, really important. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but
getting therapy and thing out there for like availability. So I have a prime example of this. Like Meph always jokes, I work for the evil empire, right? So I work for Amazon, right?
Okay.
Gotta get paid, dude. It's fine. You know,
you gotta get paid.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, you gotta get paid. Make that dosh.
I'm building that Death Star. It's not a moon,
no,
right?
The Death Star. Remember the second one? It was contract employees, right? Like.
As long as you get us tickets.
Yeah. Give me tickets to Mars. Yeah. All right.
But like, for instance, so I was a manager in a warehouse for a while, and like, Amazon's insurance is phenomenal, right? Like, they pay so much money towards their insurance because the thought process is everybody, regardless if you just walk in the door, you're the CEO, everybody has the same insurance, right?
Wow,
so
that's
insurance
great.
is great, but the fact that people didn't know like what they could get, right? Like, for instance, our insurance would be like, hey, you get you get free chiropractic sessions, you get 3 free massages a month. Just you go in there and it was all covered, right? And like, I would bring these things up when I would have my stand-ups and I would talk to people, right? And like, the fact that there was never anything for like therapy or like, hey, you know, you can go see a therapist, right? Because the availability wasn't there, right? Like, if people knew the availability was there and like there were more therapists and people could go to this, I feel like it'd be an easier issue, right? Like, if you have to go and find this and drive through this and go through this, you're right. If you don't realize you have an issue or it's not a big thing, you're gonna be like, yeah, I'll worry about that. I'll put that off. But if it's there and it's in your face, you're like, hey, by the way, you get this for free. It's like, hey, you have dental insurance. Do you want to go get your teeth cleaned for free? Sure. Right? Like, oh, hey, you're gonna go to your yearly physical. It's free. You know, because you're trying, you know, make sure you stay fit. Oh, sure, I'll do that. It's free. Right? Like, if availability like that becomes more popular, right?
Yeah. Free in quotation marks. You know, you work a full-time job for.
You're talking about a mental health checkup. Why don't we have annual physicals? And I'm just saying, as somebody who found out when he had cancer the first time, gone through it a couple times, and God willing, I'm still here. You know, God bless my doctors and my family. But
I'm glad you're here, buddy.
The first time I found out was because I went to my fucking annual physical. Yeah. And I know there are a lot of people who just like I don't need to do that. If I hadn't done that, I might not be here. And but relating that back to what you said about a mental health, checkup. Why can't we have that where we have an annual for our bodies, and why can't we have a mental health checkup for our freaking heads? So we take care of that piece. And you know what? If you don't have any issues or you don't have stuff, that's cool. Then you check off the blocks, you talk to the therapist or whatever, and you walk out. Just like if you're really healthy, that's fine. Then they won't find anything, and that's a good thing. But if there is something there that you need to be checking on, then at least you find out about it and you can deal with it. So it's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah, nice of enough of the heavy soapbox. So anyway, Riffs is really sweet.
That's great stuff. That's great stuff. Yeah. Good stuff. Oh, and my other crazy, stupid, Primaris Ancient Dan story. And I think I
love it.
Shared this with Brendan, but you talk about in the military. When you're in the military, you play RPGs. I still remember a friend of mine named Jack Campbell. He's a New York Times best-selling science fiction author. I'd known John since we lived together on Midway Island when our dads were stationed there. And I can remember my freshman year at the Naval Academy, which was, God, if I had to go back, I'd never do that again. But anyway, so he calls me, he's like, and we all lived, 4,000 of us lived in the same building. Like the dorm was just huge, Bancroft Hall. Anyway, he calls me over on a Sunday. He's like, "Hey, you got to come over. I got this box full of these little books." I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
So what did the ancient Primarius use for telephones back then? Was it 2 cups, and a
no, actually there was this little thing where you had to spin it on the wall, and then you put the thing up to your but no, that it was the sorry. So we had this box, and again, it's a long time ago, but I think it was the original Flying Buffalo, the publisher. But he had the 3 original D&D, these little books about that big. And he had those 3 books in there, little printed books, and the art was just shit. And it looked like it was off a regular typewriter, but he opened that up, and it was like magic. Like, oh my God, who the hell thought of this? This is amazing. And of course, it wasn't balanced at all. It was total crap, but it was total genius. It was it was just like this new world at that point. It wasn't at that juncture. It was in 74, 75. I think that's when it was when that happened. And it was just amazing what in these and I look at the publications you pulled out, and how complex they are and the number of pages and stuff. And that we started off with something so simple, and we've been able to, just the human mind to me, that you've been able to expand that little tiny box with those 3 little, typewriter books in it to what all the wonderful, amazing things that we've got available to us now. All the places, like this tree, that root, and then the tree just branched out. And God, it's just an literally infinite number of places that we've been able to go.
The way that the way that I talked over you a little bit there at the end, but the way that the chainmail relationship and what became Warhammer, and that whole just no. It's kind of like the rabbit season, duck season is no, we should play on a huge board. No, we should play on a tiny board with 1 figure, and just back and forth, and and this rivalry of innovation, making these sort of 2 branches of various games that would go on to refine themselves and reinvent themselves, and all because nerds just wanted to pretend that they were somewhere else fighting than so it's just,
I'm not happy. I want to be just a couple hours.
Yeah, that's
it. That's all it is.
Tap out for a bit. Infinite digital codices. Oh wait. Oh no.
Oh God, don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I always laugh because I got my nerddom passed on to me, right? So I vividly remember this. I was in 4th grade, right? And I was finally going to get my first book, like your first, this is my first paperback book, an actual book. You're gonna go, and I go with my dad to a Walden Books, right, in our mall. And what does he buy me? The Hobbit.
Yeah, good dad.
I still have it. It's beat to crap, right? I think the cover's torn off it, but
Yeah.
the very first real book I had.
Yeah.
I tell you, when I was in
Sorry.
same time, but you literally, it was almost like this. And this, it's a little exaggerated, but literally, you almost couldn't get a date when we were going to college if you had not read Rings. And I mean that. That would be like one of the first things that you would ask somebody when have you ever read Lord of the Rings? It's like, no, I've never read that. It's like, okay, this is great, but I'm never going to see you again.
Well, it's like
it's your litmus test. You're like,
yeah, it was weird that it was such a thing.
So wait, you're so venerable that you remember the first time nerd was cool, and then like you've been here for the renaissance of nerd coolness. Like you saw the dark times when nerd was decidedly not cool, but you remember the like origins of it being cool.
No, it's just something, man.
No.
One step away from that dreadnought.
That's right.
I'll be happy to be interned if it helps longer. Put me in there. As long as I have eyes, as long as I can see the world, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yes. All good stuff.
Yeah, see the world, experience it. Right on. We're coming up on the last 10 minutes here, everyone. We did break $6,000, so you worked hard for it. We've cross-pollinated each other's streams plenty. You came over here to make sure Heywoah buys a new hat. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you doing that before he's even on the show. Like, you have no idea. Like, he's not dirty. Like, he's like probably napping right now because he has the night shift and he's just like about to wake up to just rattling off like 3 things featuring him. So thank you so much, Chacking. Thank you so much for donating.
But Meph, you've built up this anticipation now, and everybody's going to know what the hat is. Want to know what the hat is?
What is the hat?
I don't know. We're going to want to know though.
I know what he's got 2 ideas. He's got 2 ideas. I know what they are. I can't spoil it though. I can't spoil it though. But somebody mentioned like, can we get a poll for it? And I'm like, yeah, the ball's in his court on that. If he wants a poll, like, I mean, that could be something. So he's got a couple ideas. I'll let him. That's his shtick.
And I do have a quick question for you. What is the Curse City thing? Or is that done already?
Curse City is 6 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Okay.
So that's central.
I have to try for that.
Yeah.
Because it would mean there'd be so many models that I would not have to paint for my Vampire army.
Gorslav.
I got my 10 skellies. I got my Oathengard painted, but now I need I need Vampire triplets. I need them, and I would like to get the big Vargas guy or whatever he is painted. But that's the one thing I'm going to shoot for.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, Brent.
6 to 8.
I think Brendan accidentally won something too, but like, hey man.
Oh wow.
So,
cool.
Yeah, no, I like people donating gifts and stuff like that. Like, it feels unethical for me to try to enter in my own charity since I'm running it. But like, people are donating the stuff, and that's that camaraderie, like everyone helping everybody. Like, yeah, man, enter to win some shit. Like, come on, you helped out, donate, and it's for a great cause. Let's go. Like, so.
It is. It's so amazing though. $6,000.
When is the start? You looking for a start collecting of choice? The start collecting of choice is, where is that?
Well, he's looking. Matt, did I ever tell you the first
4 a.m. to 6 a.m. 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. with Cinderfall Gaming. Go ahead.
Did I ever tell you the first time I realized that Dan was Stormcaller on Discord? So we're in the Midwest chat, right? And I'm in the Soul Grave Lord chat, and he's typing along, and all of a sudden he called something vampers, and I was like, "Is this Dan?" I was like, "I've never heard anyone else actually call them vampers. Is this Dan from Cubic Shenanigans?" And then Brendan hopped in and just like went nuts and like put this YouTube video about people calling them vampers and stuff like that. But
It was a drunk guy calling them vampers.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so funny, Dave. God, God, I'm so glad I got to see you. And I was going to, real quick, I'm glad I'm going to see you in the city. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, I'm super pumped for it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you. That'd be great.
Before we hopped on, I was showing Dan my undead megas, which Meph had a hand in with me starting that. So I started the army, and I was like, I really don't know what to do with this. And he was like, well, you do like dead things, Dave.
Yeah, like you saw the old Mad TV skit where they did the Son of Sam with like, "Hey Davy," and they did it like the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You remember that they did like it like the stop motion, like it was that, and like they have the "Hey Davy," like you should go build an undead zombie army, like, or you should go build an undead giant
He
army.
had the still face and the lips moved. Was that the?
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the comedy hasn't aged well, but the premise was hilarious. Like,
of course.
The Yukon Cornholio one was even better, where where they redid Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer as like mafioso, and like I'm gonna call like one day I'm gonna take over Santa's whole operation, and like it's just like let's call Yukon Cornholio the greatest hitman in the whole North Pole, and like just like.
God, that's awesome stuff. That's awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Too good.
I watched way too much sketch comedy way too young. Like it probably is what ruined my sense of humor, because depending on when you were watching SNL, Mad TV, or In Living Color, you got varying degrees of goodness, and you throw in a little Andy Kaufman and some Simpsons, and like the anti-humor and the like corny, it's all in there, man.
This girl I dated for the last 2 years, there were two things that we had to do on Saturday. Two things, besides party our asses off. We had to go to Mass at some time during the day, which I was hilarious, because she was Catholic, and we'd stop at some church somewhere on the way out the party, which just made no sense to me. But anyway, the other thing we had to do is we had to watch Saturday Night Live. So no matter where we were or what was going on, we had to make sure we were at a TV to watch Saturday Night Live.
Which era was it? Was this like the Belushi, like?
Belushi, Aykroyd, all those guys. Yeah. Lorraine Newman. Oh God, Lorraine Newman. Jeez, that was terrible. Anyway, she was, that was bad. It was like Pat Benatar. I had this thing, anyway, so those are two things that had to happen between midnight on Saturday and midnight on Saturday. But once those requirements were met, it was good. It was a great weekend.
No,
funny.
Crazy
stuff.
My buddy Sam, who got me into riffs, we'd be playing riffs, and then we get to a stopping point, go down and watch Saturday Night Live with his dad and like kind of the family, and so I kind of got to osmos like a good family from like Sam, and I think that's part of what kept me like on a decent path. But like Saturday Night Live, and so that was like. So you have the golden age and the silver age, and you can flip them whatever you want to say, but when you have the tail end of Adam Sandler and Chris Farley and Will Ferrell.
That was that next generation.
Yeah, that next generation of truly, truly hilarious, stuff. And then as they cycled out, it's funny because at the time I remember thinking Chris Kattan and Will Ferrell always did sketches together. I always thought Chris Kattan was going to be the one that was more successful at the time. He had the better bit parts. He had the Mr. Peepers, and he had all these he was great. Mr. Peepers was just Mr. Peepers,
cool.
Mr. Peepers, and so he had all that stuff. But then and even in Night at the Roxbury, he had the character that was a little bit more prominent, and Will Ferrell was just kind of there and kind of goofy. But Will Ferrell, by the way, bipolar. He's talked about it on NPR a couple times about through seeing going through the darkness is how he kind of knows to shine the light and
sure. So that's wonderful.
So he did a really huge respect for Will Ferrell after that NPR interview where he's just
he did.
It was just a great he's a totally different tone when he's just talking. I'm like, are you even the same bombastic, Ma, where's the meatloaf? Where does that even end? Comedic gold, Anchorman, one of the funniest damn things I've ever seen in my life. Sorry. Sorry.
What was one of my favorite quotes I still remember? He was talking to his dog. Remember his dog, was Winston or whatever his dog's name was? And he was like, Winston, you're like a hairy Buddha. You're so wise. Something like that. It was just a perfect quote.
Oh.
And he was so earnest when he was saying it to this dog, and the dog was like, "Woof, yeah, I understand."
Well, my favorite is the sequence where like he wrecks Jack Black's motorcycle or whatever.
Yes, that's
like because that whole sequence is like Baxter's the dog's name.
Baxter, yes,
Baxter's the dog's name. So he like, man, this burrito is delicious, but it's so filling, and he just throws it out the window. And like whacks Jack Black. You just wrecked my ride, man. And Jack Black playing it straight, which is when he's at the best. Skeletal Steve-O, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome to the Rantathon, raising money for Mental Health America. So he does, like, you just wrecked my ride, man. I've like that was ride was the thing I loved the most in my entire life. What do you love in your life? And he's like, well, I like this, and I love scotch, and I love my dog Baxter here. And he just grabs the dog, like it's come, it just throws him. And so a little bit later on, they revisit the gag. Like he answers the phone, Baxter, bark twice if you're in Milwaukee. Like you just.
That was just a great movie.
So fantastic! Oh my God, Jack Black is indeed a national treasure. Bark twice.
Baxter and the Bears. Remember Baxter and the Bears facing off against the Grizzly Bears? That was hilarious. The dog is about 3 inches high, and he was facing off against like 3 grizzlies or something. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
No,
there's sometimes there's like a comedy bit where I would love to be in the writer's room when they're thinking of it, or bark twice if you're in Milwaukee, like just like you like Ohio, bark twice if you're in Cleveland, bark twice if you're in San Antonio, like Milwaukee is what you land on. And then the bark twice. Like, why would you just? It's just so like, just the premise is so out there. Like, bark once if twice. Like, this has happened before. Like, so he's got it like.
It's my safety word.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, that's midnight. All right. That's midnight. We did it.
You guys, take care. I'm still awake.
Yeah, no, thanks for toughing it out, man. Yeah, you have like normal. You and Brendan both have like real and actual sleep schedules. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. Although, okay, so I'm going to say this, and he's going to laugh at once he hears it, but see, Brendan wouldn't be awake right now.
No,
I'm just telling you that.
No, he'd be out.
Because I've heard all this story from Ty and the guys that play in sleep during his D&D sessions on Wednesday nights, and it just cracks me up every time I hear it.
Yeah.
So. Brendan, are you there? So it's too much.
I have normal sleep patterns because my dogs and my daughter. Right, so my daughter's 3. Right, so it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and my dogs are like 7 o'clock. Get up. Right, so they don't care what time I go to bed. 7 o'clock. Get up.
Shake you, yeah. So, again, being retired, I can sleep whenever I want. I can wake up whenever I want, go to bed whenever I want. But yeah, Brendan's a working man. You guys are working men. So
I just have insomnia superpowers. I cheat. Like I should sleep like a normal human. I just find it. I'm just incapable of it. Yeah, I'm just incapable of it sometimes. Let's see here. We got a.
Wait, Dave. Good luck with your move and all that stuff.
Oh, thanks. I'm gonna hire people to move it because I'm old and I don't want to touch that shit.
Yeah, that's smart, man. But yeah, I hope it goes well for you. That'll be good. All right. Well, thank you for having.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for being on so much. Thanks for sharing stories. The RPG chat, like from off the top rope, was fantastic.
That was just great.
Like,
well, just when you think you can't learn anything new, I learned it. Like, wow. It's almost life-changing.
Well, this is like...
Well, it's two knowledge bombs in one night, right? Finding out he's a vet and finding out, I'm super passionate about RPGs. Like, it's
great. Dave, you were going to say...
Oh, this just reminds me of last year on the Rantathon where Meph had the really competitive people on, and they just talked about lore the whole time.
Yeah, it's
And we're
just great. It's
okay.
great. It's great. Man, read a book. God. All right. Well, you guys take care. I'm out here, and it was a joy to be with you both. So take care.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks again, Dan.
All right.
Well, that's absurd. The Lord Whale going back to back with lucky number 28 that time.
What? Good job.
So, Lord Whale, there you go. Guess you're going to save me some shipping costs. So, yeah, back-to-back blocks. That's crazy. 1,000 already Peter mind everyone checking, ain't nothing to fuck with. Big winner. What is happening? Congratulations. Yeah, well played. Good job. Just roll sixes, right? Like, just in all things, roll sixes, and